Hello, one and all. Amanda here. I've taken some time on this rainy day here in Florida to go over some points in the DSM-5, Diagnostic Statistical Manual for psychologists, social workers, licensed marriage, family health workers, mental health workers, doctors that we all go by, and the reason why it's a five is because it's a medical dictionary and it's constantly upgrading, it's constantly changing. They're always adding new things, new research, and things are constantly changing. And we'll talk about some of those things as we go along. And the very first subject that we are going to be looking at is depression. There are a lot of common myths and misunderstandings about depression, especially that young adults or children, adolescents particularly, say, such as, oh, they're just depressed or they're depressed. Depression is literally a 2-week thing. And we're going to get into that in a moment here. So, and it's consistent 2 weeks. And yes, get them help if you're seeing any of the symptoms, warning signs of suicide, self-harm, threatening self-harm, or threatening other people. We take these things very seriously because we've seen people do it, and the repercussions of it is way worse than having them go get help for a temporary period of time. So in the DSM-5, there are a plethora of depressive disorders. So the very first one that is mentioned is disruptive mood dysregulation disorder. It's a very severe condition where people have temperament outbursts that last for more than 12 months. It happens 3 to 4 times a week in 2 to 3 settings in children ages 6 to 18. It's been going on for 12 months or more, but before that happens, they might give them a mood disorder where they have the anger outbursts, things like that. So the next one is major depressive disorder, and you have to have 5 or more symptoms that last over a consistent period of at least 2 weeks. And 2 of those symptoms have to be a depressed mood or a loss of interest in things. Just so you know what the other symptoms are specifically for major depression disorder is weight loss or weight gain, insomnia or hypersomnia, psychomotor agitation or retardation, which means slowing down, not wanting to move, fatigue almost every day, feeling of inappropriate guilt or worthlessness, oh, everything's my fault, woe is me, inability to think or concentrate clearly on an everyday basis, and the last one is recurrent thoughts of death. So you have to meet 5 of those criteria, again, with one of them being lack of interest or depressed mood. So there are specifiers that come along with each one of these diagnoses, and I will review that a little bit more at the end here because each individual is going to have a specific specifier to meet their individual need so that they can get the treatment that that individual requires. Another disorder in depressive disorder is persistent depression disorder, also known as dysthymia. This means having depressed mood for most of the day for a minimum of 2 years, and in children for 1 year. And that means consistently for 2 years, there cannot be a 3-month or more break. If there's a break for more than 3 months, you are not considered dysthymic. You have to show 2 or more symptoms, one of them having to be poor appetite or overeating, and the other one is insomnia or hypersomnia. The next disorder in depressive disorders is premenstrual disorder. This must be present the week before prior to menses with at least 5 symptoms, and they have to be considered to cause clinically significant distress in one's life, meaning that they can't go to work, they can't get out of bed, they can't go to school. It literally causes distress in their life. And it's not associated with any other disorder, which also applies to all the disorders. There is substance and medication-induced depressive disorder. Symptoms obviously occur after intoxication or withdrawal from a substance. Specifically, specifications for this one are which type of substance. Another depressive disorder is associated with medical conditions that has evidence that correlates and goes along with a medical condition. There's also other specified depressive disorders and unspecified depressive disorders. So there's a wide range of depression and how it can be diagnosed. This is what we go to school for, guys. There's so much knowledge, and someone might have this with a specifier of this. Someone might have this with an actual other diagnosis of this. And then some of those aren't allowed. So we have to very diligently understand what our clients are going through, how it is impacting their lives, so that we can give them the best treatment. When we're looking at a diagnosis, we look what specifically is going on for them. We find their specific specifiers. How long has it been going on? What exactly is their condition? And what impact has it taken on their life and their functioning at work or school. They mention also that symptoms are not attributable to the psychological effects of a substance or another medical condition. This is very specific because I think anyone who's watching this right now will know that when we take a substance or are under the influence of another medical condition, that it can influence these sort of symptoms. But we're not actually experiencing those symptoms. We're experiencing the effects of the substance or the effect of the medical treatment. So we have to understand clearly what's going on in the whole picture. And again, there are specific specifiers for each diagnosis that go along to meet the individual's needs, and we all suffer in different ways. That's why it's really good for the therapist to be in tune and get trained in all of this. So after being diagnosed appropriately, we can then appropriately treat the client with the modalities that they need, that we need to pay attention to, because it will make all the difference in their treatment. When talking more specifically about the diagnosis criteria for major depressive disorder, it has to cause clinically significant distress or impairment in social, occupational, or other important areas of functioning. So if you notice someone at work or at school or on a daily routine that you normally see someone on, and they have these symptoms for 2 or more weeks, that's when we want to start to be concerned. We want to be concerned from the very beginning, but keeping an eye on how they're doing is what we really want to focus on. And the mood changes and shifts like a pendulum constantly, but it's the consistency of having depressed mood or loss of interest in their daily lives and routines. So the symptoms we want to be looking out for: are they losing a lot of weight? Are they gaining a lot of weight? Are they not following their normal dietary routine? Are they oversleeping or undersleeping? Do you notice all of a sudden that their condition in sleep has changed dramatically, which is also affecting their mood? Psychomotor agitation or retardation, meaning people don't want you to touch them, get near them, easily irritable in a physical setting, or they just don't want to move, do anything at all, what we would call a couch potato, as layman terms. And fatigue almost every day, not wanting to get up, move, do anything. Another symptom is feelings of inappropriate guilt or worthlessness, really shaming themselves, doubting themselves every day, constantly putting themselves down. The inability to think or concentrate clearly on a everyday basis as well, and they're not able to make appropriate decisions for their lifestyle, their work, their health, their family, just inability to think clearly at all. Or the last symptom is recurrent thoughts of death and any threats, again, that we hear from anyone we take very seriously and are very concerned about, because again, we know the repercussions of what those threats can do to people, and it can really tear people apart. So you don't have to have all of these symptoms. Someone might not be eating as much, not sleeping as much, have a loss of interest in activities, still go to work every day, but they're being really hard on themselves, and they keep thinking about death and how their life is just not worthy anymore, or inappropriate feelings of guilt or worthlessness, not being able to focus clearly during the workday. Someone else might stay in all day and not want to go anywhere, not want to do anything. And this is again why we want to look at the alternative forms of depression too, because that person might have premenstrual dysphoric disorder where this just happens 1 week before their menses. So is it going on for 2 weeks? What are the clues that you're seeing in a friend that you might want to give a recommendation and point out to them, hey, you're having some of these symptoms. I found out that these are some warning signs for depression. I would really love for you to talk to a professional about this and see if we can get some help. That way that we can get them back on that routine. And sometimes it is chemical, and we would prescribe someone with SSRIs who has depression, and SSRIs, which increase the serotonin levels in our brain. Serotonin is one chemical messengers for neurotransmitters that carry brain neurons between the cells. So SSRIs will block the reuptake of serotonin into the neurons. We also can prescribe SNRIs, which ease depression by affecting neurotransmitters to communicate between the brain cells to help regulate mood and help relieve depression. Sometimes we don't get enough serotonin because we don't get it in our food. Poor diet, hormone changes can cause that imbalance, and also lack of sunlight can cause our serotonin levels to become imbalanced.